Good evening to you. It's 11:11 p.m. on Tuesday, November 15th. Your Purdue Boilermakers have just improved to 3-0 by beating Marquette in the Gavitt Games event at Mackey Arena. They won 75-70. I don't know if I said that. I kind of got ahead of myself. 75-70. They're now 3-0. That's a good thing. Marquette looks like a tournament team to me. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But first, let me thank our sponsors. Thanks to Martin Vintage. Head over to Martin Vintage after you watch this. Go to martinvintage.com. Pick up a t-shirt. Pick up a sweatshirt. Enter Boiled at checkout. Get 15% off. And when you're on campus this weekend for the Northwestern game, it's going to be a little chilly. So maybe to avoid some of the chill in the air, you can duck into two AJ's on Vine, grab a pint, grab a burger, grab some Italian beef and some funnel cake fries and some mac and cheese bites and enjoy the day. Enjoy some other football after you've watched Purdue hopefully win against Northwestern. It's eatajs.com. So as I said, Purdue wins 75-70, and if you watch the entire game, you could really say probably what I saw, and that is Purdue didn't look like they were going to win that game. It just didn't feel that way. Every time they would get close in the first 30 minutes, first 32 minutes really, they couldn't get over the hump. They would get close, they'd touch the lead, and then Marquette would take it and hold on to it for a long time. I think they said towards the closing minutes of the game, Purdue only had the lead for like 4 minutes up to that point. But really at the 8-minute mark, the 8.5 minutes left in the second half, Purdue found another gear. They went on a bit of a tear. There was a critical possession that I noted on Twitter at about 7:35 where Marquette got 3 good looks. 2 of them were threes. They missed all 3 shots. Purdue wouldn't grab the rebound, which was kind of indicative of how the whole game went. There are a lot of possessions that looked like they should have been shorter for Marquette, but they weren't made shorter because Purdue just wasn't on the glass on the defense like we had seen them in previous games. But still, they managed to stop Marquette in that possession. And then right on the other end, Purdue went down and scored. I think it was a Brandon Newman 2. That game, that possession felt like it was a bit of a fulcrum point. And sure enough, it was. Purdue, I think, in that period, starting a minute before that, was like a 17-2 or 17-3 run. They go on to win by 5. Probably should have won by more. Didn't hit their free throws down the stretch. It didn't feel like a game that I was too worried about, though. And I don't know if you feel the same way about that, but a lot of people on Twitter were biting their nails down to the cuticle, and I didn't feel that way. Once they kind of started feeling it, it just felt like a different game. I'm going to go over the stats here in a second. But before I do, I want to go with my gut first and say Braden Smith was awesome. He played, again, with a lot of pace. He annoyed the hell out of Marquette at different periods of time. He had a charge call that was kind of pivotal in those last couple minutes. That really wasn't a charge. He totally flopped. And I thought he was going to get a flop warning instead. One of the refs blew the whistle, called the charge on the Marquette player. But it really felt to me like it wasn't for Smith kind of turning the energy up, and Zach Edey just simply. So it was like two different games. Edey was nice and steady most of the game, and Smith really in that last 10 minutes was the fuel that made the thing go. Also, Caleb First there's another important play if you want to look at it and break it down. Just a couple key plays that felt like they turned the game. Another one was Caleb First had a block shot, and then it turned on the other end to a Braden Smith 2, and forced Shaka Smart to call a timeout. If you didn't watch the game, you could. I think maybe a really, really noteworthy thing is that Marquette, they press all game. They throw the press aggressively at their opponent, and Purdue only had 6 turnovers. They had a couple towards the end of the game that weren't great. A couple possessions where it kind of felt like old Purdue basketball with some of the woes they've had with some of the point guards of yore. But all in all, Purdue handled the press pretty well. I'm going to look over the stats real quickly, and then it looks like I got a good amount of people here watching, listening live. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you're Hope your evenings are going well. So the big story, there was a guy named Joplin on Marquette that I thought for sure Joplin was going to kind of propel Marquette to the win because he started hitting shots in the second half, and it just kind of felt like, okay, it's going to be one of those days where this one guy propels them. Or sure enough, he's a six man. He finished with 21 points, went 7-11, 11 had 5 3-pointers. He played great. They had a couple other guys that played really well. But really, they missed a ton of threes, especially in that last 10, 12 minutes. That really hurt them badly. They still shot 30% from three, but it felt like they were shooting, and I don't have the stat in front of me, what they were doing that last 15 minutes, but that was an absolute killer for them. It's the first time I've looked at this. Marquette out-rebounded Purdue, which is pretty, I think, that's something that I think this Purdue team is going to pride itself in, beating teams on the glass, and they did not win that battle tonight. They did not have enough defensive rebounds, and that almost spelled doom for them. But honestly, if Marquette would have shot a little bit better, the game may have gone a little bit differently. It felt like they were taking stupid shots early in the shot clock, kind of like Purdue did last year, and Purdue was the anti-Purdue of last year, just taking smart shots down the stretch, drawing fouls, doing the little stuff. They played a good brand of basketball really in that last 8.5 minutes. But the rest of the game, it just didn't feel like it was going to be a win. Let's look. Gillis played 19 minutes, didn't have any points. Zach Edey, of course, 20 points, 13 rebounds, had 3 blocks. I thought he'd get a credit for a fourth, but he didn't. Braden Smith has 20 points, only 2 turnovers, 3 assists. Didn't really light it up there. And then you had Lawyer had 9 points, went 2 for 4 from 3 off the bench. Newman had a solid game, was making big shots, 7 points, 9 rebounds. And then Jenkins had 10 points. And Jenkins had a period of time where he kind of took it over himself. He was looking for a shot. I think 2 or 3 possessions in a row he scored in that magic turn of the game at around the 10-minute mark, maybe about a 9-minute mark. He started feeling it. Pretty amazing stuff, by the way, if you haven't read up on what he had to go through to get that eye to the point where he could actually see. That dude's a tough guy. And I think Matt Painter talked about it as a show. I heard it someplace, but what he had to go through for just a simple black eye, I mean, that's a hell of a black eye. He had blood that wouldn't drain out of the socket. So he had to have minor surgery. Easy for me to say minor surgery. And then he comes and he's still shooting, which is pretty incredible. I don't think he's practiced much at all in the last 10 days. Maybe he's starting to practice a little bit more now, but pretty heroic type basketball and really tone setting stuff for a guy that transferred in to really buy into the. I don't know anything about Jenkins, I'll be real honest, before this year, and he seems like a Purdue guy based on the stories, the toughness here. Purdue only shoots 66% from free throw line. I think that 70% is really something they gotta freaking be able to hang their hat on this. But 1 for 2 Purdue continues to have struggles from the free throw line, especially down the stretch. Also, let's see. Yeah, Edey went to the free throw line 5 times. Smith went 6. Edey's got to get to the line more. I think that's an important part for Purdue to really become a better team, to be the team that I think they're going to be in January. And then they shot 33% from free throw, or from 3-point line, 48% from three, or from the floor. I apologize. Mercy, tripping all over myself. But they improved to 3-0, and like I said, I think to me it looks like Marquette's a tournament team. I might be wrong, but they look pretty solid, and they do things that'll make it really difficult on their opponent. That press is no joke. The old Shaka Smart Havoc from VCU has returned because he doesn't have the size that he had at Texas. So he's just got a bunch of guys that are better athletes, and they make it difficult on their opponent. So Robert Gill, he's checking in here. Said great resiliency in the second half, and no doubt, Robert, that's kind of the whole thing that defines this win for Purdue. That's a big deal. Let's see. I want to see what Purdue's got next. Next up, they got West Virginia. This is a good stretch here. They got West Virginia and then at Florida State. So this is a tough stretch, an important stretch of the season, the pre-con. And then they got that. They have a weird couple of conference games in a 4-game period. They'll play Minnesota and Nebraska before another stretch of non-conference foes. So, but yeah, I'd say these 3 games really define how easy the path to the tournament will be. Because if you can pick up Florida State's not playing well at all. That's one thing I know. I watched them play the other night. They're not playing well at all. They're maybe one of the most disappointing teams in America right now. Put Louisville there with them. But West Virginia will be tough just because they always are. So these are two good games in a row where you're going to be tested because you got two really good defensive teams in West Virginia and Marquette. So Scott Justak says Smith was a beast tonight. Smith, I don't know if I probably would give Smith my game ball just because I think that energy really turned the game and that stuff matters. Stuff not to give to Zach Edey. Also, I would have loved, I love Brandon Newman. You guys know that if you listen to me, watch me often. But I would like to see him in the game a little bit more, especially down the stretch. He was shooting well. He's making great decisions this year. He looks like the guy that I was hoping he would be. He's, coming off the bench, playing solid ball, so that's a big deal. Ben Gloyd says, any ideas why Waddell was in the game? Also, do you anticipate Newman starting once Big Ten play starts? Okay, yeah, so I was just talking about Newman. So I think Waddell is in the game because I think Painter really likes him. I think he likes the fact that he's the guy who plays a smart brand of basketball. He had a foul there at the end that looked pretty bad where Marquette was able to shoot 3 free throws. They only made 2 of them. But it looks like he was trying to avoid the 3, and it looked like a pretty dumb foul, actually, to me. But I understand the intention there. But, yeah, I think Painter trusts Waddell, and he likes all the little things that he does. So I think he was in there for that reason. I don't know what type of free throw shooter he is, but I'm guessing he's pretty good, and that's part of the equation as well. So just a guess. Newman being a starter, I would love to see Newman as a starter just because, to me, he seems like, I like Lawyer playing, don't get me wrong, but I think Newman is probably a more complete player at this point, and then bringing in Lawyer off the bench wouldn't be a bad thing either. Also, maybe right now it would help Lawyer get into a better rhythm. We've seen glimpses of what Lawyer can do as a shooter, and so maybe we can do that. Moving Newman into the starting role makes a lot of sense to me, but I don't know. I don't know what everybody else thinks. I'm sure we'll talk about it here in a second. Ancient Astronaut says, I'm very surprised by Smith. He's really going to ball out. Final Four. Okay, wow. That's a lot right there. So I'm not surprised that Smith is good. I'm surprised that he's this good. I don't know if I'm going to say Final Four just yet. But point guard play is always important in March. So hopefully they can do what I think they're going to do here in the next month and improve a lot and gel a lot as a team. They still look like they still don't put together big chunks of time where they're playing consistently. They're still not. I guess they're moving the ball really well, but they're just not knocking down threes at the end of the movement, which is really weird because they're getting very, very good looks. And I think these guys can all shoot, but for some reason, the shots aren't falling at the rate that I thought they would be right now. Like I said, Marquette's a good team. I think Marquette at the end of the game was a little bit gassed. Maybe, I would think they're in tremendous shape just because they always run that press, but they look like they faded a lot in that final 10 minutes. John Younger says, what is Waddell's strength? If it's not shooting, he seems to be way off on the shots. Yeah, I agree. But I answer that a little bit. I think, I'm telling you, I think this guy does little things. I think Painter appreciates that. Painter always talks about this idea. If you listen to him over and over, he'll say, I want guys who aren't just shooters and aren't just scorers. So if your shot's not falling, you're still doing things that are important. He was trying to teach Newman that lesson all last year, that Newman's obviously a scorer first, right? He's a guy who is, last year especially, his energy for much of the season would be predicated on if his shot was falling or if he was getting shots. Well, when you're not getting a lot of minutes, it's really, really hard to say, yeah, I'm going to come in, give 3 good minutes, hopefully make 1 shot. And if I'm not, I'm going to be doing little things on defense and making smart passes and that sort of thing, being in the right place. So I think Waddell does that, and I think that's got to be it. It's got to be all about trust from Painter. Ben Gloyd says Purdue missed out on a lot of long rebounds. Yeah, they did, and you would think that with I think I said Newman pulled down 7 boards, and Smith I think had 3 or 4. those guys are going to pull down those rebounds. But yeah, that's a missed opportunity, and that's the way you close a game out and it without any drama, and make the game where it's not even close. But it didn't happen that way, and Purdue needs to be a team that dominates on the glass to be good. They really need to start hitting threes, though. Honestly, that's a bigger thing. Ancient Atomic Immortality says we needed a guy exactly like Jenkins last year. He's a natural leader. Yeah, he is a natural leader, like we were talking about. Doing the stuff where you're just toughing it out, right? This team is so much different than last year. I cannot get over how different they are from last year. I know we lost. I don't like saying we. Purdue lost 4 starters, and obviously that's a big deal. The team has just a way different makeup. But, man, they are so different. Defense is extremely important to this team. Generally, rebounding is a big deal. They're unselfish. They play physical. They don't seem to wilt under pressure. Last year, at times, the team would make such stupid offensive plays where they would shoot early in the shot clock or not understand the importance, the gravity of the moment. And it seems like this team already seems to gather just in their brief understanding, just in the fact that they're so young, they're still getting things, it seems like, as a team a little bit better. We saw last year veterans making stupid decisions, especially down the stretch. And obviously that team was super talented and could score. But this team, man, they can play defense, and they play smarter. So it's fun to watch. Alex Chatton says West Virginia is that 3-game tournament. Okay, yeah, so this is that Nike tournament. There you go. So, yeah, I was just looking at Ross' schedule. Thanks for reminding me about that. That's that Phil Knight. Is it a Phil Knight birthday thing or something like that? So I think they used to give out at those tournaments, the teams would have special different uniforms. So that'd be kind of neat to see if Purdue got an alternate uniform out of the deal. But yeah, that'll be cool. And that there's a lot of opportunity to play. So that means they'll play West Virginia. And then I think they'll have a chance to play somebody even better. So, yeah, that's cool. That's a good event. Glad Purdue's in that. 3 games the next 4 days 3 games in 4 days next week. Yep, that's a pretty good test of their mettle, especially as a young team. That's gonna be a lot of fun. So, thanks for the reminder. Appreciate that. Josh Clark says we need to start Newman and then Lawyer off the bench. Agreed. I think it'd be great. I think it's a good move. I trust Painter, and I think he's doing some things psychologically, trying to build guys up that need building up, and maybe remind guys that they can do things other than, just come off and score. And maybe he's continuing to teach Newman a couple things. But, man, to me, Newman is making such good decisions, and he deserves to start shooting well, playing efficiently, making good decisions. Let's see. I'm not going to go back to the stats, not do that. Mark Goshorn says, I'll be surprised if Jenkins doesn't start next. To Smith next week. So there's another guy so we're gonna have like 7 or 8 starters. And Waddell, he says Waddell was in for perimeter defense at the end. He's long and quick. He is got extremely long arms. And he's 3 or 4 inches taller than his dad, so it's pretty neat. I don't know if you guys, I think we talked about this last year, but it is funny. You've got Waddell and Martin's sons on the team, and then you've got King's great nephew? Is that? You guys can tell me and then Barrett's son. That's pretty cool to have that many legacy players on one team. It's really, really cool, and to know that Waddell is going to be a significant role player, if nothing else. That's pretty darn cool. And if you're old like me, you remember, I was on campus when Konzo and Waddell were there, so obviously that's a big deal to me and guys in my age group. So. Well, I'm almost to 20 minutes. I just wanted to give a quick post game on this. I'll get one more comment here. Brian Hannon says, Newman was out of position on defense several times, made some bad passes. Seems much improved on offense this year, though. Yeah, he's out of position a little bit on defense. A lot of guys were out of position on defense tonight, I'd argue, especially as they rotated. They did a really good job moving the ball, putting Purdue out of position. Marquette got good looks, man. They got good looks, and they rely too heavily on the 3, and they don't hit enough of them. But, yeah. So I'd probably have to go back and watch the game again to dig in deeper. So if you're correct that he was out of position that many times, that's guaranteed why he didn't get minutes down the end and down the stretch that I wanted to see him playing. But I just love the way Newman's playing. I think he's so much improved over last year, and I love that guy when he came on campus too. So I still think he's gonna have a great career at Purdue, and there's big upside there. So thanks for tuning in to everybody. Thank you for being here live. Thanks for listening to it taped. I'm hoping, and I don't know, I haven't even talked to the other guys about this. I'd love to have a handsome hour on Wednesday or Thursday, but we haven't really talked about it internally. And then, of course, the Northwestern game is on Saturday. I'll be there. If you see me, say hello. That means I won't be able to do a post game until either Sunday morning or late Saturday, something like that. But hopefully we're celebrating a victory and maybe thawing out a little bit. It's going to be a little chilly in Ross-Ade. And if I were Jeff Brom, I would just say everybody get ready to run, because Northwestern has struggled to run the ball. And on the other side, they're going to be on their third string quarterback maybe. There's a lot of reasons to just say, let's just eat up a bunch of clock, because Northwestern likes to play this fast-paced game, let the third string quarterback come and make mistakes, and then Purdue just play solid on the other side. Maybe we'll see Maccabee just put up huge numbers, but it is senior day, so who knows? Maybe Payne Durham and AOC will have a huge game. That's always fun to see on senior day, but like somebody said on one of the boards, senior day is weird sometimes, right? Sometimes it kind of plays heavy. It feels heavy to some guys, and they don't play loose. So you never know what you're going to get emotionally there. So, Robert Gill has a very logical prediction. Get Maccabee to 1,000. I got it. Okay, so 1,000 yards on the season. Dang it. I'm bad at doing two things at once. Yes, Robert, that's correct. They need to get him to 1,000 yards on the season. I think he needs 120 yards in both each game, so 240 more yards. I think that's right, Robert. You can tell me if I'm right. So he needs 120 yards each game to get to 1,000 on the season. I think he'll be very, very close, and that'd be pretty darn cool. There aren't a lot of Purdue backs that have run for 1,000 yards in a season, and hopefully we'll get to see Devin do it a couple times. So should be a lot of fun. Hope to see you there. If you don't have tickets, go get tickets. There are still a couple thousand left. And Robert says just to get 240 on Saturday. Get out of the way. It's a good idea. After that, Old Logan Bucket against the unlikable Indiana Hoosiers and their likable coach, Tom Allen. Hammer down. Talk to you soon. God bless you. We'll see you.